What's up, y'all? All right, so today we're gonna talk about why MLS Next is not elite. Okay, as you all remember, in episode one of this new podcast of the WED method, I discussed the way the development of a lot of MLS Next players was hindered by the system that is completely trash, right? Let's be honest about it. So today I'm gonna go on and explain further why MLS Next is not elite. All right. So let me start out for those that don't know who I am. My name is Wallis Debor. I'm a former international player from Benin Republic. I have one international cap for the Benin men national team. Prior to that, I came through the PSG ranks, all right, all the way until the age of 16. Moved to the United States, joined New York Red Bulls, New York Red Bulls Academy, then Players Development Academy, while simultaneously attending Blair Academy in New Jersey, prestigious high school. Then right after Blair, I got the opportunity to attend college at San Francisco University and Cleveland State University, where I played Division One soccer. All right, and as a result of that, I got the opportunity to continue my passion. I had a brief spell in Cambodia with Phnom Penh Football Club. And lastly but not least, the most important experience was with Buff du Borgo FC in the Benin top flight. And I retired in 2019 due to a career-ending injury. And after retiring, I decided to move back to the US and get involved in the development of youth soccer over here. Got my badges, got my CAF A, my USSFB, and on top of that, founded an organization that no longer exists, but that was very productive and was able to measure the success of the organization over time, called East Orange Soccer Academy. I acted as a president, founder, director of coaching, wore a whole bunch of hats, and right now I'm operating under the WD method, which is a philosophy that I apply when it comes down to player development. How do you build elite players, literally from grassroots all the way up to after high school, and really emphasize on the development, right? Because that's very an aspect that in this country is pretty much overlooked. People claim they want to work on it, but the result is not what is expected, right? We have such a big country with so much potential, and it is shocking that we are unable to produce the top of the top when it comes down to soccer. But obviously, culture is a big part of it, and there's also a lot of factors that I'm gonna develop, throughout this podcast. So, in a nutshell, this is who I am, and the WD method is basically what I do. I operate as a coach, I operate as a business owner. Work with a whole bunch of academies, give speeches in regards to player development, educate parents, educating coaches, educating DOCs, so on and so forth, based on my experience. All right. So today, let's get back to it. We will be talking about why MLS Next isn't elite, right? First and foremost, right? Elite is not a badge. Let's be clear about it. Elite is not a badge. Elite is a filter under pressure. Now, let's apply that definition when it comes down to MLS Next. MLS Next is not elite. It's a league where elite teams are mixed with protected teams. That's the whole problem. Let's try to break this down a little bit, right? MLS academies, now we're really talking about the teams that have an MLS team, right? Like the academies that have an MLS teams, right? Such as Philadelphia Union, New York Red Bulls, Cincinnati, so on and so forth. The list goes on, right? Now, those academies are free. Let's be clear about it. They don't need parents' money. They can cut players, and oftentimes they actually recruit the players that they want, right? Whether it's all over the country, all over the world, they have the ability to do that. Obviously, their budget varies, but that is something that they do, and a lot of them are trying to incorporate what's happening in Europe right now, which is having kids that are coming from out of state or from another country the opportunity to live in within their facilities, right? There's school there. Sometimes, some organizations still use host families or whatnot, but they making sure to provide that environment where the kids can be dedicated and focused to soccer, right? MLS academies, well, to some extent, we can say that they are under pressure, right? At least a little bit more than regular academies. So obviously, to some extent, they need to deliver, right? They need to deliver. Now, let's talk about non-MLS Next clubs because there are quite a few of them. So obviously, in order to be sustainable for the business model, they need fees. They need fees to survive. They cannot afford to cut kids. A lot of the kids, as I was explaining in my previous video, a lot of kids that play at this level in non-MLS academy teams usually don't belong there. Yes, out of the blue, they could have 1-2 players that actually stand out, but at the end of the day, they will not remain in the academy forever. If there is a player who stands out, usually that kid is going to be snatched up, right? Within 1 or 2 years, he'll be gone to the MLS Academy club that is the closest to where he lives or whatnot. So those are things that go on. They protect paying families, right? Let's keep that in mind. They really protect paying families. Oftentimes, the more you pay, right, the more safe you are. Because at the end of the day, we live in a capitalism society, and you're gonna tell me maybe that's not just in soccer, maybe happening in a lot of within the spectrum of sports in this country, but in soccer, that's really a big thing. Another area that non-MLS clubs, are thriving is that, obviously their goal is to keep the rosters full at the end of the day, right? Because it costs a lot of money to be part of the MLS Next league, and it's important that the parents are able to afford a spot in the roster, right? That's basically what it is. And lastly but not least, we avoid consequences. So it's important. That's a very, very big one. Avoiding consequences. Simply because whether you deliver or not, it's not a big deal as long as you were able to purchase a roster spot, right? And there is no consequences when it comes down to at the top of the ladder, right? From director of coaching or whatnot, there is not that that level of results that may be required at a non-MLS team. So definitely one side must be elite, the other cannot be. So when you think about it, this is the main reason why MLS Next isn't elite, because you got the academies and you got on the other side the non-MLS academies. Now, that's another argument. If you wanted to keep the league that competitive, you could have just a league for MLS Next academies, and then the non-MLS Next academies could have their own leagues too. That could potentially raise the level up, right? Like I was explaining in that other videos, and prevent the non-MLS Next players from the non-MLS Next Academy players from allow them to develop, and also allow the players from those MLS Next Academies be able to play in more competitive games week in and week out. Okay. All right. So you cannot build, as given everything that I just broke down right here, you cannot build an elite league when most of the teams cannot afford to be elite. That's a problem. The results, okay, are, there are 3 layers to that result: fake parity, fake competition, and protected mediocrity, right? At the end of the day, this is what it creates. The competition is illusion. It is complete illusion. MLS academies only get real pressure when they play other MLS academies. They don't play them weekly. Festivals are not enough. We're talking about MLS Next Fest. I know last spring, that's probably something that happens every spring, where there's like an Adidas, MLS Next Adidas tournament or whatnot, where they invite European academies or whatnot. That happens once a year. I mean, it's cool for the experience and all that. For the development, I don't know. I mean, it's cool to be able to say, okay, look, I'm competing against top teams from top academies, from Europe or whatnot. But, at the end of the day, it's just one game out of the blue, right? It's not consistent. And for the long-term development, I'm not sure how that helps, right? It's good to be able to tell, okay, this is where I'm at, or we're not, in comparison to the world. So players, there is no survival league. There is no survival league. Players live in low pressure environments wearing elite uniforms. There is no relegation, no elimination. So, and I know at the top of the spectrum, when we're talking about MLS Next, USL, even though MLS Next and USL are both trying to work something out, and, and mark my words, that is not going to happen. There is never going to be a relegation system here. And, if it is to happen, at least I don't think in my lifetime, in our lifetime, this is not going to happen. I hope I'm wrong, but I do not think, and, I'm not going to go into the details again, because that will be for another video. But I don't think folks are prepared to have a relegation system over here. I think they are more than happy with their playoff system. But one thing that I'm going to say is, even in youth soccer, it is important that a relegation system be put in place. And simply because it allows for competition, it allows for players to feel that they're actually fighting for something. Otherwise, when you look at, so once you make it to MLS Next, then okay, you're playing to win your regular season, but you're not playing cup games weekly, right? If you're at the top of the ladder, you're competing, right? You're competing to win your league, whatever region you are. If you're bottom, you're not competing for survival. And there is just so many things that we're not doing the right way. The relegation system is across the board, from U10 all the way up to U18, U19. There is a relegation system that is in place. And it's important. People need to find a way, because fighting for survival is something that is important when it comes down to character building, when it comes down to the game being more competitive as a whole, right? It is very important. So all these ingredients being removed, that's a problem. So it's almost as if you're telling a kid, as soon as you make it to MLS Next, you're good, right? You don't have to fight for anything, you're already at the top of the ladder. You're the best of the best. And it is wrong. It is wrong because chances are, as soon as you cross the border and you play a team, and I'm being generous when I say cross the border, talking about Mexico, right? You cross the border down in Mexico, and you find yourself playing against, a team of the same age, and you realize that, maybe the level is a little bit higher up, right? So it's difficult. It's something that they need to figure out and work out. All right. So without relegation, it is very difficult to bring the best out of the players. So it's very important to keep that in mind. Players tend to get comfortable, right? They stop competing, think they're better than they are, and they collapse when they face real pressure, right? And oftentimes they don't face real pressure until, if they are good enough to make it to the top, then, after graduating from MLS Next Academy, they get contracts, or whatnot, they're able to play, not in MLS, but if some of them are able to go to Europe or whatnot, that is the first time they face adversity. And it's difficult, right? This is why American kids struggle internationally, because they're not used to that. You cannot be playing the game from your youngest age, and the first real challenge that you encounter is when you're a professional. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense, and this is a recipe for failure. And that's the reason why, one of the reasons why, right, we struggle to have elite players. Parents, there's also another topic that I want to talk about, and once again, that's something that can be developed later. Parents, right? Parents, parents stay trapped in a system, especially parents of non-MLS Next Academy teams, because the good thing about MLS Next Academy's parents is that they don't micromanage so much what's going on within the club, simply because they're not asked to contribute, right? They don't contribute financially. So the clubs actually don't see those parents as customers. Now, somebody who contributes financially, right? It's difficult for a parent to pay $5,000 a year and have their kids sit on the bench, right? A kid's not good enough. That's a problem. But that's reality. That's something that goes on. So parents definitely of non-MLS academies stay trapped because they paid thousands of dollars, right? They bought the badge. They defend the environment. They don't want to admit the truth. I don't even think some of them are oblivious to it, right? I believe, a lot of them, a lot of parents really believe, of those non-MLS Next academies, believe that joining a club that is reputable, right? Because even though it's not MLS Next Academy, every region has clubs that I guess have a reputation of being a good club or whatnot. Even if the kids play for the C team, the D team or whatnot, as long as the kid wears that badge, a lot of the time there is this sort of pride that these parents feel, right? Even if their kid is in that non-MLS academy teams and it's not really thriving, the team is really struggling or whatnot, they regardless feel that this is the right move. If the kid is not developing, getting as many minutes as he should be getting, they believe that because they play for X, Y, and Z, that that club, whatever, has a name, that they're in the right environment. All right, so that's a problem. There are kids in MLS Next who will never be tested, once again, never be filtered, and never be developed. Yet everyone calls them elite. That's the crime. Keep that in mind. If you want real elite, you must find pressure. Not logos, not leagues, pressure. Okay. So this is it as far as episode 2. I have a book coming out soon. I'm gonna give y'all the details as we get close to it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and see you next week for the third one. Peace.